820 HBP.
Oh, I just put lower your blood pressure.
Ah.
You want it titled based on the date?
Yeah, remember we talked about that.
Yeah, but
Like
nobody
put the
remembers
date
the
first,
date.
and then we can reference it. Where am I at? Facebook. I'm trying to get there so I can share this.
All right. It says we're live on Facebook, everyone. So,
Good morning.
good morning. How are you?
I'm great.
Hang on one second. I'm trying to pull up a photo that I want to have on the screen.
Okay.
You want it titled based on the...
There we go. Well, good morning, folks. We're here again on Tuesday at noon Eastern time, like we are almost every Tuesday, bringing you great health information so that you can optimize your life and extend your health span. So welcome, Doc Fizz.
Hey, welcome to you. Thanks for being here every week.
You're welcome. I enjoy it.
Yeah. I came up with this topic yesterday because we're seeing that so many people are having trouble right now with this virus, with everything that's going on. And it seems like people that are having a lot of trouble are the ones that have high blood pressure.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, to the point to where you're seeing doctors arguing whether they should keep their patients on the high blood pressure medication.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they're saying that some certain high blood pressure medications actually seem to make the viral infection worse.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, you haven't seen my post on that.
Yeah, I saw one yesterday about it.
Yeah, yeah, they're saying that some of the blood pressure medications can actually cause problems because it interferes with the whole release of the cytokines.
Oh, okay.
So you got some doctors saying, well, should we take our patients off of the medication? And you have other doctors saying, oh, no, the problems with having the high blood pressure would actually be worse, which I tend to agree with. Because once you're on it.
Like they're saying that you have a loss of oxygen in your body, like in the red blood cells and that. So a loss of oxygen would put stress on everything, right? Would that help create higher blood pressure?
Yeah. Yeah. So if somebody has a problem with high blood pressure, so I thought, what a great topic to talk about, the whole TOMA thing, top of mind awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Top of mind awareness and letting people know that there's some options that they can do.
Great idea.
So that's kind of why I chose that as our topic today. So I looked up a few things and I thought, well, let's look at some research. Let's find out what are the online experts, what are they saying that you can do naturally to help lower your blood pressure.
Okay.
So I thought we'd kind of cover some of that. And then I thought, well, we'll cover some nutritional supplements that can help support a healthy blood pressure. And we have to say it that way. We can't say we can lower your blood pressure.
Yeah, we support things. We support the body.
Yeah, we can't treat high blood pressure. So really, at this point, Andrea, I just want to say, kind of our disclaimer that, these are our opinions, the things that we talk about. It's our opinions, and it's not the opinions of anyone else. Some people might agree with us, but it's our opinion on this talk, and it doesn't reflect back on the company in any way. Any of the companies, if we mention supplements or things like that, it doesn't reflect back on their opinion. This is just our opinion. We're not trying to tell people, like I said, we're not saying, hey, we can treat disease. We're not telling people that we can cure disease, anything like that. But if we can support the body's own system, we can optimize that health, like we were talking about last week, trying to optimize health.
Right.
I was just on my my longevity conference. It's
I
every
know,
day
I
this week.
saw
It's
that you were
2.5
on
hours.
those. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually missing it right now. I jumped off to come over here. And I copied this off one of the slides because I thought that it was I thought that it was really, really important that the single disease model that we've been following for 100 years
Uh-huh.
isn't working.
Clearly.
It's not working. The single disease model isn't working because what they've shown is that if we get the handle on this disease over here, this one gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what the researchers are pointing out now. And so they last year or 2 years ago, 2018, when they wrote the new International Classification of Disease, aging was actually written in. It's got its own diagnosis code now.
I saw that.
Yeah, aging.
I
And
wasn't
so,
sure I was happy about it, but I did see it.
well, let's just hope that they're looking at for the right reason, that they're including it for the right reason. Right? They're not just going to blame everything on getting old.
Right.
So, another thing that I saw this morning on one of the studies, they were talking this. Now this is England. The speaker was from England, and they showed a graph, of how we've improved aging, so longevity. People are living longer,
Mm-hmm.
and they showed that over the course of the last 20 years, the graph has been steadily growing up like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what was interesting is that the health span, like we were talking about last week, it's funny how that word is popping up a lot more now. Maybe it's just popping up in the things that I'm watching and I'm paying attention.
I think we made it popular.
Yeah, well, it's because of us. But yeah, when you look at the health span goes like this. It's steadily going up, and then about 5 years ago, it dropped. So it
Really?
goes up and it dropped. And then it kind of is going like this. But it never got as high as it was. And it's gradually, going over here. So you have to ask yourself, what happened 10 years ago?
10 years ago.
We talked about it. We talked about it when we were talking about the increase in the number of people that have diabetes right now, why blood sugar is going up. Do you remember what we were talking about back then, 2 weeks ago?
Well, lots of different factors, I thought.
Well, there was one major factor that played a role in it.
Tell me what it is.
Well, it was national health care.
Right.
I mean, I'm just repeating what I read.
Oh,
I'm just,
yeah, and they
keep
changing their, they keep changing their, like for high blood pressure, they've changed what they call healthy for high blood pressure. I mean, for years and years and years, it was a certain level, and then suddenly they changed it so they can put more people on high blood pressure medicine, I guess. I don't know why.
Well, it's that, and then it's the fact that, like we talked about on our talk about diabetes, that people noticed that their deductibles went up. I went from a
right. We were talking about.
I went from a low deductible,
Mm-hmm.
and once I met it, my insurance paid 100%. with that national health care coverage, I had a $10,000 deductible.
Yep.
Now, I don't go to the doctor, so I'm not a good example. I'm a bad patient.
You're a smart patient.
But I don't go to the doctor unless somebody runs me over. But anyhow.
Yeah, so we were talking that people are resisting going to the doctor because of the expense, and so therefore their body goes into more deterioration before they actually address the issues going on.
Right. So again, why did we bring it up for those folks that are just jumping in, just joining us right now? Why are Andy and I talking about why is the fact that we're seeing more people having different diseases, more diseases? Why are we seeing that the health span is actually went down about 10 years ago, and and now it's kind of been fluctuating. It's not going back up to where it was. And the main reason that we brought up the fact that people are having to pay for their treatment out of their own pocket. And when they're having to dig into their pocket, they're having to dig into their wallet, when they're having to whip out that credit card, they're going to hold off going to the doctor.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They're going to hold off going to the doctor, and they're going to have more health problems. And that's what we're seeing. They're saying right now that now this is England, because this is where the speaker is from. They said that over 50% of people over the age of 65 have 2 or more comorbidities, diseases, diagnosed diseases.
Well, that's why you can't go to the doctor at my age and have them, they're shocked that you're not on medications.
Right. So you saw my post on it last week. $88 billion was spent in 2018 with personal loans to pay for non-covered healthcare expenses.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's the personal portion. $88 billion.
Billion dollars. That's
in the United States.
Tremendous. Yeah.
88. I just can't get that number out of my head. $88 billion was spent. Right? I mean, that's just humongous. That's the portion that the patients had to pay for. And I remember when I was working in my clinic, and it was back in the probably around the 2000, somewhere around that time frame. I remember that one of the large insurance carriers here in the state, Blue Cross, they said that they were going to switch the way that they paid, and their whole philosophy was that they wanted it where they would force doctors to eat a third of the costs, write them off. They were going to force patients to pay a third of the cost, and then they'd only have to pay a third of the cost.
What? Why would you, so through the doctor's contracts, they're saying instead of paying you $100, we're going to pay you $66 for a service. Okay.
Right. And then at $66, then they would make you pay $33.
Okay.
So they'd only have to pay $33. And I thought, holy cow, what a racket. What a racket. Because when you buy health insurance, do you know that's what their long-term goal was?
Well, no, we don't. Typically, people don't know the contract between the doctor and what he's giving up to contract with that company. But other people, what your deductibles are, so you know that you have to pay out of pocket a certain amount of money.
So you know that you have to pay that certain portion, but so here's what happened. When they started talking about it, what did I see healthcare costs doing?
Rise. They're not going
Right?
to lose they're not going to lose their profit.
So if I know that I'm going to be writing off 30% of what I'm doing, what am I going to do? I'm going to raise my costs 30%. So guess what happens to the patient's portion?
It goes up.
It goes up. They pay out more out of their own pocket. For those people who don't have healthcare insurance, it goes up. If you've got a high deductible, you're going to meet your deductible more often. So anyhow, I'm just kind of giving a background so people can see, why are we talking about this stuff? Why is it important? Why is it more important today than it was 20 years ago?
Well, because we have a lot of things going on in the world.
We have a lot of things going on, and the cost of living isn't going down. So if you're having to spend all your money on healthcare costs, and another great portion, like I know when I was down in New Zealand and Australia, just the cost of rent in an apartment is just sky high. Like I remember when I was in New Zealand, somebody told me there that the typical person spends 40% of their income on rent.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to learn how do we lower those costs? How do we get people so they can stay healthier? 1 billion people worldwide have high blood pressure. 1 in 3 people have high blood pressure. 30% of people, right?
30% of the people have high blood pressure.
This is what I was reading this morning. This was I went online and I went to some different, what I thought would be, people would consider to be kind of the go-to experts, like Healthline, PubMed, Mayo Clinic, Ask Doc Fizz, things like that.
I like that one.
We don't have that one. But so when you have high blood pressure, you have an increased risk of heart attack, you have an increased risk of kidney disease, you have an increased risk of stroke. So really, high blood pressure can kill you.
Oh, yeah.
So what's one thing that you can do today, Andrea? That you could, let's just start. Let's start, Liz. This is from Healthline now. I'm going to go through the 15 things that they listed that you can do that you can lower your blood pressure. Exercise. Yeah. How many minutes a day are they saying is considered to be good?
Oh, it's 20 minutes. 20 minutes?
30 minutes of walking.
30 minutes?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they're saying if you're doing vigorous exercise, if you're playing, like a pickup game of basketball, if you're doing some running, you're doing some exercise that's a little bit more vigorous, they're saying you can cut that down in half, 15 to 20 minutes.
Great.
Right? Number 2 on their list was decreasing your salt intake, decreasing the salt by decreasing the processed food, the prepared foods, going out to eat, things like that. I see that all over the place right now. People are like, oh my gosh, I can't go out to eat. I can't go out to eat. I'm sitting here at home cooking my own food, and I'm going, well, I didn't go out to eat that much before.
Right. So, but people get confused about, at least this is what I think. Maybe you can correct me on this if I'm wrong. People get confused about what salt's good for them and what salt isn't. Like your normal table salt that starts with M, it's not that great for you. You know, so like everybody I know has switched to sea salt or Himalayan salt. And actually salt does play a role in healthy heart disease or healthy heart.
You want to have it in moderation.
Well, the exchange of sodium and potassium actually makes your blood flow through your body. It's like, so it never made sense to me that you would limit salt intake when you want to have your blood flow go correctly through your body. You just have to get healthy salt. Healthy salt,
like you said, Himalayan sea salt, the pink stuff.
Yep.
Right, and you have to grind it up. I grind it up myself and things like that. But they say that there's about 50% of people have a genetic problem where they don't process salt properly. So even if they're taking the right salt, 50% of people still have to watch it because there's a genetic problem with them. The third thing that they listed was 16% of people, 16% of all people that have high blood pressure, the cause is alcohol consumption.
Really?
16% of the 30% of people that have high blood pressure, those billion people, right? That means 300 million people. Well, no, half of that. So it'd be 150 million people. They have problems with alcohol.
So don't drink alcohol.
No, they're saying for a man, 2 a day is considered to be like a healthy limit, and one
Serious?
for female. Yeah, this is coming off of that, and then when I looked up Mayo Clinic, they said the same thing.
Okay, my opinion is I don't agree with that.
I would tend to agree with you. I would say that, if you're having 2 a day, I mean, if you have to have 2 a day, I think you have probably an alcohol problem.
Oh, I would agree with that, and it will lead to one. When I
Right.
was going to college and took a drug class for my health minor, there was this big long word, 32 letters long, of a study where a doctor in Chicago was provided homeless people's bodies to, do her research on. And she went back to when she was picking up more, she says, I didn't know that these homeless people had enough money to buy cocaine. And they said that they don't have cocaine, they're like drinking cheap wine. That's it, And what her research showed was that there's actually this big long term in your body that if you have that capacity in your brain, you will become an alcoholic. Like they did mice experiments where they would like not give them water, and when they had the substance in their brain, they would drink alcohol till they died to get liquid or to get the alcohol. Like, it's pretty interesting. But I say, why risk that? Why risk doing 2 drinks a day?
Some interesting studies on that too. They show that if you start feeding your child sugary baby formula way back when they're an infant, it actually increases the number of receptors. Your body makes receptor sites, and then later on in life, now you have to satisfy those receptor sites, and so you're constantly trying to stimulate it, and that's where alcohol or cocaine or drug use comes in. But anyhow, we're getting off into another subject. Potassium-rich foods. It helps to balance out the different like calcium, things like that, and it helps decrease the pressure in blood vessels. So what vegetables are high in potassium?
Bananas.
Vegetables.
Oh, vegetables. I don't know.
Green leafy vegetables.
Okay. Tomatoes,
potatoes, sweet potatoes. Right? What fruits?
What I just said.
Bananas.
Bananas,
orange, apricots. And I don't know, where would you classify avocados? Would that be a fruit or a vegetable?
I think it's a fruit. It's got a nut.
Okay. So bananas, oranges, apricots, avocados, milk, yogurt, tuna, salmon, nuts and seeds, beans. Those are all high in potassium. So if high blood pressure runs in your family, genetically you have high blood pressure, that runs in the family, you might want to try and include some of those in your diet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Caffeine intake, right? I limit myself to 1 cup per day. I mean, and you look at my cup and you say, well, that's a huge cup, but I only fill it half full, and I have 1 cup per day.
Well, you got to drink good coffee.
It's the good coffee. Yep.
Yeah.
But caffeine, it's got some good benefits for the brain. It's got some good benefits for diabetes and things like that. But too much can cause your blood pressure to go up. Number 6, stress. Decrease your stress.
That's a biggie.
It's a biggie. Yeah.
So how do you do that?
Chocolate.
You go for a walk in the woods, you go to the beach, get back to nature.
Yeah.
Know when to quit and just take a rest, take a nap. I take naps.
Shut off the TV, shut off the media, quit listening to some of those fools, and and shut off the social media too. The social media can be so bad. My son did a study back in college. Zach did a study back in college. He wrote a report on it. And I remember him telling me, he was telling me that you know, that my kids are so smart. They've written these reports. But anyhow, he showed that if you're on Facebook all the time, which a lot of people are, they sit there and, you know, they don't wear a wristwatch anymore. They use their phone. And so their excuse is, oh, I'm just checking the time. And when they check the time, they check their emails and they check their Facebook and all that stuff.
Another thing that I heard about is grounding. And if anybody doesn't know what grounding is, it's getting your feet on the earth and releasing all the positive things that have built up in your body so that your body goes back to more negative. And I believe hearing that, like, just walking barefoot on the earth, you can lower your blood pressure within 15 minutes.
Oh, wow. I never heard that. But yeah, there's some good books on it. The Body Electric is a great book on that.
Yeah.
You know, even when you go for walks, you know, a lot of people, they're constantly looking down. You should be looking out at the horizon, and they find that that helps with blood pressure too. Dark chocolate, it has polyphenols, right?
Yum, yum.
Cacao.
Cacao.
Losing weight.
Mm-hmm.
Losing weight. Quitting smoking. B, right? I mean, we don't have to go through either one of those.
That's a biggie for everything.
That's just common sense. Quitting smoking and losing weight. Cutting out the sugars and the refined carbohydrates. Eating berries, raspberries, blackberries, things like that. Again, just like dark chocolate, it has polyphenols.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation, they're saying meditation, and just, you know, folks, you don't have to sit there and go, you know, and meditate like a, you know, Buddhist monk or anything like that. Just leave your phone inside, grab a lawn chair, and just go outside and just find a nice, comfortable spot that you can sit there and watch the river water flow by and listen to, you know, the birds and things like that.
Daydream.
Yeah. You know, yeah, you know, remember when we were kids, our parents would say to us, you know, use your imagination. Yeah. Now you get to be an adult and they say, quit daydreaming.
Right.
Eat more calcium-rich food. Garlic, they found that garlic, an herb called berberine, it increases nitric oxide, whey protein, fish oils, and you know, those things are all going to help. And magnesium deficiency. Again, I took some notes here. So that was off of the Healthline website. So then I went to Mayo Clinic's website, and I just wanted to see how do they concur with the Healthline. So I mean, they had 10. So lose weight was their number one. Exercise, eat healthy. They just said eat healthy. They said by changing your diet, you can lower your blood pressure by 11 points. Keep a food diary so you can keep track of it. They say by decreasing your salt intake, they're saying 1,500 milligrams per day, it'll lower your blood pressure by 5 to 6 points. Decreasing alcohol, quit smoking, cut back on caffeine, reducing stress, monitoring your blood pressure. Monitoring your blood pressure was an important thing. Getting support from your family and friends if you're having a problem, just to kind of reassure you that you're doing the right things. You know, that helps too. And then I looked up something else. I looked up herbs that help with blood pressure. Basil. It blocks some of the substances that tighten up the blood vessels. So that's how basil works. Cinnamon works. But most of the studies on cinnamon are kind of they say increase your amount of cinnamon, but when you look at the studies they actually took the cinnamon and they injected it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so when they're telling you to increase cinnamon and you're taking it orally, does it do the same thing? Then there was a South Asian spice called cardamom. Have you ever heard of that one?
No.
I don't know, but they found that 1.5 grams. 1.5 grams. So that's a tablespoon and a half twice a day for 12 weeks had a significant reduction. I don't even know what the herb is. I mean, I've seen it, It's used in stews and things like that, but I don't know, a tablespoon and a half, that's a teaspoon and a half. That seems like an awful lot. Flaxseed, because it's got the omega-3s. They've shown that it protects against cardiovascular events, atherosclerosis. It decreases cholesterol. It increases the glucose tolerance, which we talked about a couple weeks ago. Garlic, it increases the nitric oxide. I didn't know that. Ginger relaxes the blood vessels. Hawthorn berry decreases blood pressure, decreases arterial hardening. It decreases cholesterol. Celery seed is a diuretic. French lavender, you can consume that. I knew that they made it in an essential oil. I knew that they made it as a aromatherapy. I didn't know you could consume it, but they found that it decreases the heart rate and it decreases blood pressure. Cat's claw decreases blood pressure by acting on certain parts of the body by the calcium channels. So anyhow, that's kind of what the online experts are saying. The places that I think if people are going to go Google what we're talking about, that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. But so I just wanted to diagram something here, and so bear with me on this, Andrea. I'm not an artist. I don't claim to be. So there's your heart. Does that look like a heart?
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Crooked one, but
well, some people have crooked hearts.
yes, they do.
So that pipe coming out the top of the heart, what is that?
Aorta. Right?
Correct. That's the aorta, right? All right.
Mhm.
So then the aorta bifurcates. You've heard the word bifurcates. It means that it splits.
Okay. No, I hadn't heard that before.
So it splits into the arteries, and so these arteries, I'm just gonna continue to draw splits in them like this. So the arteries branch out, they bifurcate.
Okay.
Okay, and so I'm just going to take one, and I'm going to continue that bifurcation process, right? And down to the really small ones.
Capillaries.
And those are capillaries. Very good. Okay. So
surprised I know anything.
so what happens at the capillary level that doesn't happen anywhere else from the heart to the capillaries?
They're like this, and the exchange just goes through.
The exchange, yeah. So that's the only place in this system where the blood can flow through. The other parts of the system, the aorta and the arteries and arterioles, there's no holes in them.
And they're encased, yeah.
Right. So it's a I'm going to call it a closed loop.
Okay.
So these capillaries, they get down to the tissue level down here, and the blood inside of the arteries, that's called intracellular fluid, which I'm going to call ICF.
Okay.
And then the tissue, the fluid inside the tissue that comes out of the capillaries, that's called ECF, right? Extracellular fluid.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard of that, intracellular, extracellular.
Maybe way back in anatomy and physiology class.
Okay, so just think of it like this. Intracellular, it's inside the vessels. It can't get out till it gets to the capillaries. Where it gets out of the capillaries, it's called extracellular. So the pressure inside the capillary, and there's an importance why I'm going through this, because I want people to understand it. The pressure on the inside and the pressure on the outside is supposed to be equal. Blood is just supposed to naturally just kind of flow through. It's like if you turned your garden hose on and you just left it laying on top of the grass, and the water just spread out wherever it wanted to go.
Okay.
Right? That's what it's supposed to be like. And then the veins, then they pick up, so the venules and things like that, they pick up this this blood, and they pull it back to the heart. So they pick up so at the capillary level in the tissue, the extracellular fluid, it delivers the nutrients, it delivers the oxygen, the hydrogen to the cells. Then the cells release their toxins and carbon dioxide, and it picks it up, and then it flows it back to the heart. The heart goes through the lungs, and right. I'm not going to go through that whole thing, but bottom line is you can see what happened. So sugar is a toxin. So when you consume too much sugar and it gets into tissue, right? What does the body do with toxins? It stores it in the fat cells. It stores it in the extracellular fluid. So when a toxin gets into the cells, the brain has a system of biofeedback, and the brain picks up that there's a toxin in there. And so what it tries to do is it tries to dilute out the toxin.
So
and when it dilutes out the toxin, what it does, it increases the pressure in extracellular fluid.
Okay.
That causes a backup in the system. So then the pressure on the intracellular fluid, because they're supposed to be equal. So it's just like if I went out to my garden hose and I put my thumb over the end of the hose, if you could measure the pressure inside the garden hose, it goes up, right?
Right.
If you put your thumb over the end of your garden hose, what happens to the water?
Well, it stops coming out.
Well, if you just put a little tiny, if you
it hinders the flow.
So it increases the pressure, and you can squirt that water out further, right?
Yeah.
Right. So there's a really good demonstration for people to get kind of an idea of what's going on. So then the brain picks up on that, and the brain says, "Hey, we're having a problem here." And so what the brain tries to do is it tries to make things so it's equal. It's always trying to make homeostasis. But eventually what ends up happening is that the reason I brought up the word bifurcations, wherever these splits in here, that those red blood cells are hitting that bifurcation, and they're putting tears in the bifurcation. They're putting tears, little micro tears in the blood vessel.
Okay.
And when there's tears, the brain picks up on that. The brain sends a signal to the liver, and the liver does what?
I don't know. Tell me. Well, it cleans things, but.
So the liver releases cholesterol.
Oh, okay.
And the
so
cholesterol
like
gets in.
Band-Aid.
A Band-Aid. There you go. And so it starts patching up the holes. But as that cholesterol starts to build up, now it takes the artery, and the artery that had a hole in it that was this big. Now all of a sudden there's just a little tiny hole going through. It's just like you're taking your thumb and putting it over the top of the blood vessel.
Right.
Causes the blood pressure to go up. So today we're talking about blood pressure. So eventually over time, between this whole system, what eventually happens is that when you're looking at this whole system, you can see I drew a bigger heart around the other heart. Your heart starts to stretch, and you get something called congestive heart failure.
Okay.
Does it all make sense? So you're increasing the pressure at the kidney level. You're increasing pressure in the arteries, in the veins. You're increasing the pressure in the heart, and this whole thing causes all of that system to start to break down. We talk about senescence. We talk about senolytics, and so this whole thing then eventually, when this is all breaking down, you start using up all your stem cells.
Right, because they're trying to repair.
Can't repair it anymore.
Right.
So these cells go into senescence. That's why atherosclerosis is one of the primary diseases caused by senescence.
Makes sense. I mean,
it all does make sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, the whole topic that we've been talking about for weeks, senescence and senolytics.
It all starts to weave together, doesn't it?
Yeah,
we talked about diabetes 2 weeks ago. We talked about last week we talked about health span. Today we mentioned a little bit on health span. Why is it going down, not up? It should be going up, but it's going down. And why is that? Because people aren't going to the doctor because they have to pay for it out of their own pocket.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we start to see all the stuff. And so the key to it is then what can we do about all these things? And again, folks, we're not going to talk about cure. We're not going to talk about treatment and things like that. It may sound like it, but we're not. We're talking about supporting the body. So what we're going to do is, based on the new science, they're saying that, hey, if we can get rid of the senescent cells,
right,
what's it going to do for the arteries?
Well, a lot, because if you get rid of the senescent cells, first of all, they're causing inflammation. And we've talked 100 times about how systematic inflammation is a contributor to all degenerative diseases. So if we get rid of that, because these zombie senescent cells are giving off toxins causing inflammation, you need to lower that, right?
Yeah.
The other thing we've learned is that by age 40, you have half your cells in senescence. Stem cells, the cells that repair your body, are in senescence. They're not working. They're giving up toxins.
So why are we seeing that all the studies after the age of 40, 50, 60 are showing that people are having increased problems with blood pressure? You just gave the answer, right?
Yeah.
Because these senescent cells, they can't repair anymore.
Yeah, they don't repair. But the good news is, if you can remove those senescent cells, actually there's something that we'll just call a bud left there, and it grows a brand new stem cell.
Yep.
So then you have more stem cells to do repair in your body.
More active, effective stem cells doing their job. Mm-hmm. So all we're doing is we're helping the body do its own job. We're not treating, we're not curing, things like that. So, so that long drawn out picture that I drew there, we talked about it 2 weeks ago with diabetes. Go back and listen to that call. We're not going to go over it again today. Mm-hmm. And we talked about senescence there, how senescence affects the pancreas. And today we're talking about how senescence affects the linings inside the arteries, right. The heart, cardiovascular disease. And so they're really, really important. But what, so what product do we have at Sizzle that helps support that system?
Called Stem-O-Lytics.
Stem-O-Lytics. Yeah, great product. I take it. I took mine. I take half in the morning, half in the evening, just because I take so many pills. I try and divide it out morning and night. But Tom says, take 4 at night before you go to bed every other day, and it helps. It has 8 powerful stem-lytic agents, or senolytic agents. Sorry.
Senolytic, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is that we have a product called 4 Restore. Mm-hmm. And what does 4 Restore have in it?
I believe that product has the Roto-Rooter in there.
The Roto-Rooter. Yeah. Zombie cells and Roto-Rooters. I like how you keep a visual on that. But yeah, I mean, it has the extracts from red beet juice, which helps your body build nitric oxide levels, L-arginine, and what that does is it helps to make the blood vessels. So the blood vessels, they're stretchable, they're pliable, right? And if you're pliable, then it's gonna help absorb the extra blood pressure, and it's gonna help keep that so that those arteries stay clean.
Right.
The Nobel Prize back in the 80s,
probably 80s.
Back in the 80s, and so nitric oxide levels really good, and we have another product. It's called Eternity. Eternity has resveratrol. Mm-hmm. Resveratrol helps with the linings of the arteries and the cardiovascular system. Super Omega Plus.
Yep.
It's got CoQ10.
The good kind.
They've shown that CoQ10 helps to keep the cells of it's an enzyme, help keep the cells of the cardiovascular system healthy.
Yeah, I think anybody that's had a heart issue, typically a doctor will tell them to go on CoQ10. But there's a difference between CoQ10s we've discussed before. So we know our product has the good one in it.
Yep, and we won't get into that. You can go back to
Yeah.
previous videos and you can see that. But you know, like Andrea said, the doctors are starting to recognize the importance of CoQ10. There's still a lot of them who don't, and they prescribe things like statin drugs. And the thing about statin drugs is, you know, like your cholesterol medicine. The cholesterol medicine blocks your body from metabolizing CoQ10, and so eventually, the people who are on statin drugs, they eventually start having problems with congestive heart failure.
Yeah, because it destroys your muscles.
Yep. So you go after a disease, high cholesterol, which really isn't a disease, it's a symptom, and it's a symptom because you have the toxins, and so that doesn't make sense to me. But the omega-3s, they help with getting rid of the inflammation. We have Spectramax. Spectramax is high mineral content, and you know, you've talked about it in the past with getting rid of toxins. You know, explain why there's 74 trace minerals in our product.
Well, they're essential for one thing. You're supposed to have them in your diet. Secondly, that particular product breaks down free radicals all the way to nothing. Like if you had a vitamin C tablet, vitamin C is only going to break apart a free radical to a certain level. So then something else has to take over. Another antioxidant has to take over and break it down further. The product Spectramax breaks it down all 39 levels until it's not harming you.
That's right. Yeah, and we need all those 40 antioxidants and those 74 trace minerals to make that happen. You know,
Right.
and so it really works really well on that. Age pill, right? You know, because the age pill, it reduces the lipofuscin, it reduces the glycation, and that frees up some of the stem cells and allows the stem cells to be more effective at what they're supposed to be doing. And what do stem cells do?
They repair the body. They regrow the body.
They repair and they replace. Yeah, they regenerate. So,
Yep.
so you can see where this is just so important. And then you know, like even when you start looking at the Encompass 360, it's been designed. It's our multivitamin that's been designed to work alongside all these other great products. It's got more antioxidants. It's got your B vitamins, things like that. You know, Body Shield is a great product. I mean, you can just pretty much take and you can say for high blood pressure, almost all the products are going to make it better, right?
Oh yeah.
And
Well,
you know, with what we talked about, 3-4 weeks ago, when we were talking about how the telomeres and the stem cells and the senescent cells are all linked together.
it's all hooked together, like everything in the body. Yeah.
So isn't it equally as important to be on TSX?
Well, yeah, if you're going to regenerate to the optimum, yes, you would want to be on TSX, which supports telomeres in your body.
Right, because if you don't have healthy telomeres, then there's no way that the other products can work as well. So you can see, I mean, all this stuff, and all of these things take energy, don't they?
Yep.
They all
Energy.
take biological processes, take energy. And where do we get our pure form of energy?
From hydrogen.
Hydrogen. So the H2 sticks. You know, so folks, I mean, you're hearing us plug a lot of the products that we have, but you know, I'll tell you, you know, Andrea, a lot of people, they say, oh, you just do those calls because you increase sales and that. I'll be honest with you. As a physician, I've used a lot of nutritional products over the years. 34 years of being a chiropractor, doing natural medicine. And I've used a lot of products from a lot of companies. There's some good companies out there. There's a handful of companies that if somebody says, oh, I'm taking products from this company, I go, okay, they're good. They make good products. But what I like about what we have here with Sizzle is Tom is a master formulator.
Right.
You don't just go buy B vitamin. You don't just go buy vitamin C.
Right.
Because he's formulated them to work together. So you don't have to go out and buy 10 different vitamins for one thing. You can buy 10 formulations that do 10 different things.
Yeah. So you're like quadrupling, if not more, 10 times in your ability to optimize your health with formulations rather than buying individual substances.
That's right. That's right. So folks, you know, that's why I tend to plug these vitamins, because I just find that for me, I don't think I found anything more powerful than what we got. You know, I haven't found anything more powerful. I haven't found any more powerful formulations than what we have over here. Again, we can't say cure, we can't say treat, we can't diagnose, anything like that. If you got a medical problem, get in and see your healthcare provider. You know, and you know, and I know, you know, based on what we were talking about, chances are you have a high deductible. Chances are you have, you know, increased costs. But folks, I mean, if you let this thing get out of hand, it increases your risk of getting sick. Go.
That's right. Yep. And you know, people who are watching this for the first time, or even the people who come watch this with us every Tuesday, we have all of our calls stored in that Facebook page, Doctor's Clinic, Doc Fizz with Friends. You can scroll back and watch any of them. Just look for the topic and go back and, you know, start teaching yourself from information about different options that you have.
Yeah, and we do this every Tuesday at noon Eastern. You can also find them on the YouTube channel. I always categorize them over there, and I'm slowly putting them all into categories, Andrea.
Great.
I've been over there working. I went back 3 years and I started putting all the videos into categories. So I have some videos on business building. I'm going to have some videos on, you know, toxins and antioxidants. I'm going to have some videos. So some of the videos will be in 2 or 3 categories. We'll have some videos on weight loss. We'll have some videos on blood pressure, things like that. And just to help people, so you can just go in there and you can search my channel, the Sizzle World Team YouTube channel.
So just to help people with that, many people don't know how to find things in YouTube. So you're going to put Sizzle World Team, you know, in YouTube, find his channel. Once you're in the channel, there's a toolbar at the top. One says videos. Everything Doc has done probably for 3 years is in there in the order of how he's done it, going backward. But now what he's saying is he's developing playlists that have a topic. Like today, we're doing high blood pressure. So he's going to have different topics. So you click on the playlist and then you can scroll down through the playlist and see those different topics.
That's right. So, Andrea, I'll let you close out the call. I know we went long again. Boy, we go long every time. But, you know, there's so much information out there. I mean, I'll tell you what, we could talk for hours on this stuff and not get all the information out there. So, you know, we just try and talk about the things that I think are important, that'll make a difference. We try and make it understandable, even though my drawings, you know, I'm not an artist, but
you did great.
So anyhow, I'll let you close out the call.
Okay, thanks, Doc. Thank you for being here every Tuesday, making that commitment to be here to help people optimize their health. And we just thank all of you for joining us when you do, and invite you back for every Tuesday. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.